Today's episode is inspired by a conversation I had on Instagram a couple weeks ago. So, the question I got was I want to ask you something. I'm wanting to be successful with this digital marketing space, but I'm struggling. All this chaos in my life, plus being newer to this space and this particular kind of marketing has been challenging. I'm determined to make it work, but I've never been confident in my offer or niche. All I know is I want to be a positive light to others. But I'm curious, what would you do if you had to start over? Where would you start? And the conversation that we had after she asked this question was really, I don't know, powerful, important. And I want to make sure that we have that conversation here today. So let's get to it. Today, we're answering the question, what would you do if you had to start over? Where would you start when you're building an online business? And I feel like this is going to be like a 2 episode because we're going to talk about part of it here. And then I almost have to add, okay. Then we're going to have a second episode talking about the second part of the conversation that happened because I think that part is extremely powerful as well. So we are talking today about like, if I had to start over, what would I do and where would I start? And it was a really interesting question to answer because there's been a lot of reflection and acknowledgement over the last 12, definitely this year, but we'll say 12, 18 months for me. And seeing some of those things that have transpired in different light. So it's almost hard to say, like, what would you do differently if you had to start over? Because I know all the things that happen have brought me to the path where I'm at now. So if those things hadn't happened in the space, like I'm not the person, I'm not the coach, I'm not the mom, all of those things, like I'm not that person. If all of and they're quote unquote mistakes, like I don't even feel like they're mistakes. They're the choices that I made. If they weren't there, then it's almost irrelevant. All right. So that's like my first caveat. I don't want you to listen to this and be like, okay, well, I messed up. I did all these things. Like that's not true. Like you're at where you're at the space that you're supposed to be in, and it's just moving forward. So with that in mind, let's talk about like what I would do differently. And I think this is probably going to be more from a lens of, and I don't even know like if I would say like, okay, I would do this differently starting over, which, there's part of me that would, right? But if I had, then I wouldn't have the things that I need to be able to show up and coach you in the way that I can. Okay. All right. I think I got my caveat out of the way. The first thing would be working on me more. I spent years, and this is probably why I fought doing the Cash Flow Unlocked workshop for so long, because I knew that like this is the thing that we need to learn. This is the thing that we need to figure out, but it doesn't feel like the thing that you need to know, right? So it's working on having that well-rounded approach and not being so obsessed, so focused on, I just have to hit this. I just have to make 10K months in my business. I just have to make 5K months in my business. I just have to do this. And that's like the only thing that matters. We put like the blinders on. So we're not focused on taking care of ourselves. I said that I can distinctly remember saying like, okay, I just don't have time to take care of my health right now. Like it's going to have to wait. Once I hit this income goal, like it'll be fine. I'll be able to prioritize it. I'll be able to do more. And then thankfully I was able, this was 2019. Yeah, 2019. I was able to make choices, and like I had people who were influential in my life that were like, hey, why don't we go ahead and do this? And it felt almost unattainable. So then that was like, again, the opening of the door so that like, okay, yeah, you can do this. You can have that. But if I had to start over, this is where I would start. Like, it's not the obsession with the making money in your business. That part I would do away with. Knowing that I'm doing the work that I need to do because I know I need to do it, and taking the steps and doing all of the things that I know will create the income. And we're going to get to more like on what the specifics there, but not sacrificing myself, not being so obsessed with the income goal, making sure that I'm working on myself so that I can be present with my kids when we're playing on the playground or we're at the beach, and not like sitting there stressing about like, oh, I have to do this to be able to do this. Or, okay, we'll get to that in a second. But that portion, it's letting go of it has to be about the money and trusting. And this is why I said it goes back to working on you, trusting on yourself, trusting in yourself that you are enough, that you have what you need. You are the thing. Like, it's not lacking because you can move forward and it's going to work out. And it's that trust built in there that you're doing the things that you need to. And I'll get to a little bit of the tactics in a minute, probably not in the way you're thinking, but we're going to talk a little bit of tactics. The second part of that is human design. Now, this has been last, I don't know, 6-ish months or so that I really dived into human design. And there's a way, before we like you tune me out, there's a way to do this. It's not, I use this as a tool to understand myself. It's not I'm a projector, so I can't do that. Or I'm emotional authority, so I can't do that. So I'm a 1-3 emotional projector for those of us who know human design. But it's about empowering and understanding yourself and understanding where things are showing up. I was having a conversation yesterday about one of the gates that I have defined. So if you have a gate defined, that means that you constantly have that energy like available. Like you constantly have that. Okay. And so there's a gift side of the gate and a shadow side of the gate. And the shadow side of this specific gate is not enough. And this shows up for me a lot. But the key becomes not staying in that. So I can work on the deconditioning, and we're doing all of those things. And if this is like, okay, you're speaking Greek, Amy, I need more information, send me a message on Instagram, Facebook, one of those. And we'll have a conversation about it, because this has been, I don't know if I want to say life-changing, but basically life-changing, because it helps you feel seen when you're understood in this deep of a manner. Okay. So we're working on the deconditioning portion. So that helps like remove the shadow side of it, but we're never going to completely get away from it. It's still there. Just like we talk about with the money and the emotions and those things that show up, like that part of it, it's still there, but it's what you do with it when it shows up. So the deconditioning is also super helpful for like the money trauma, all of those things. But this gate here, the shadow side of this gate, is not feeling enough. So it can show up, but it's what do I do with it when it shows up? Now that I'm aware, now that I see it, now that I recognize it, we're working on the deconditioning, but we're also working on the tools that it doesn't stay stuck. But even like the mission, the vision, the way that it's not even that I'm supposed to, the way that I am most gifted in showing up, like it was almost like a permission to, this is the thing that I've always felt like I should do. So just do it. And there is so many shoulds and pressures and, oh, things have to be done this way that show up in the online marketing space. And I don't like the shoulds. We don't need those. And it's still a process to like remove those and remove the pressure from it, that you're not feeling that. But understanding my human design and seeing my strengths there was super empowering to help remove some of those shoulds. All right. The third, or I guess the last part that I wanted to make sure that we touched on, if I had to start over, where would I start? This is probably more of the tactical aspects. Yeah, there we go. That we're looking for. So we need to have 3 key things. We have to be able to have ways to grow our audience. We have to have a way to nurture your audience, and you have to have a way to sell your audience. But at almost like the core of it, you need to have a way to have your voice be heard. You have to be able to do that. So whether it's, Instagram lives, Facebook lives, whatever you want it to be, for me, that's the podcast. And for a lot of people, like that would be my recommendation, especially with your voice, is like having a podcast. You can find a different way, but you have to have that way to be able to communicate, for people to hear from you. And ideally we do it in a way that like people it's evergreen. It's always there, and they can buy for you because, Instagram lives, the life of them fade away. So somebody, can go in and binge them, but it's not necessarily there as easily, and some of those things. YouTube, obviously the podcast is on YouTube for me as well. Some people do YouTube instead of podcasting. Having a place where your voice is heard so that you can consistently share. We can get into like the mindset portion behind it and what you share and all those things. That's a whole nother conversation. Then having a way that you grow your audience, there's so many different ways you can do this. So I'm not even going to get into like specifics. I'll just give you a couple examples and then my caveat here on this. Okay. So you can do bundles, you can do podcast guesting, you could do Facebook ads, just like organic conversations. You could use social media. You could do in person. So nurturing your list. The podcast is a nurturing aspect for me. Email, social media, all of those things are nurturing. And then of course, selling. Like, are you selling to your audience? Does your audience have a way to buy from you? And ideally, they have a way to buy from you like now. They don't have to wait. Like, how are those things evergreen set up? Like, okay, hey, this is always available. You can, when you're ready, because you can hold that belief, that space, like the people are going to be ready. And it's just a matter of when. You can make that offer without feeling that pressure because you know that it's there for the people who are ready. Okay. My caveat here with the growing, nurturing, selling to your audience, it doesn't have to be, the cookie cutter. That's why I didn't want to mention like specifically the podcast, but I know that it's such a powerful tool. Because I want you to, again, getting away from the shoulds, it doesn't have to look like anything specific. This is your business. You show up in the way that you want to show up, the ways that feel aligned. So you're showing up on social media in a way that feels good, not out of forced habit. I know I've told the story before about when I hosted the summit, but it was I am very much like, you tell me what to do and then we'll go do it, right? Like I will do the things, just tell me what I need to do to succeed. I guess I used to be that way. I probably bucked that a little bit more. But in that space, I was going through a training course. They were like, growing your audience, do a summit. So I hosted that summit and it was not where I needed to be in energetic alignment. So there wasn't as much results there. So I don't want you to feel like you have to do things. Well, an example like launching, like you don't have to do a massive launch. You don't have to launch at all. You can do, well, that's not true. Even if you're having evergreens, it's still kind of like a launch, and that we can get into like the specifics of what a launch means and et cetera, but it doesn't have to be this big production with a 5-day free challenge that opens to a 7-day cart and all of those things, because some of us are not built to handle that energetically. Some of us do not have the space in our lives to handle that energetically. It's about finding the thing that works for you. Yes, there's a balance between getting out of your comfort zone and something that doesn't feel in alignment. And you can feel that. If you're in tune with yourself, you can feel that. And again, we can go back to the human design. There's also like things that you can see in your design to know like where you feel things, where you're more inclined to feel the yes, more if you're sacral, then you have the instant yes. If you're like, I have my spleen defined, so I still have some of that, but it's not a sacral. And yeah, again, I'm going to stop going into detail because I've really enjoyed this. So yeah, if you're curious, send me a message on Instagram. But all right, I think we got the first part. But there was a second portion of this conversation that was really important. And I kind of hinted at it a minute ago, but it has to do with success and feeling like what we have to do and the pressure and the things that show up and the way that we don't see our valued, we don't see the success that we've already had. And we're going to tackle that next week. So make sure that you stick around. I'd love to hear from you. Takeaways, questions, all the things. Send me a message on Instagram at Amy Circa. Link's going to be in the show notes below. I really wasn't going to talk about this, but I will. Yeah, let's just share. I have behind the scenes, we are revamping Money Mastery Academy, and I am in a place that I feel like it is time to bring in, I think we're going to call it the Unstoppable Experience. So essentially, it's going to be the 12-month in-depth time frame, the time that we need to really go deep and to understand and to really move forward with your money. If you remember, if you've been with me a while, Money Mastery Academy used to be a 12-month program. But what I realized is it was not the container that needed to be the 12-month program. So it's getting a little bit of a facelift. Things are changing there. But the Unstoppable experience is going to be the 12 months with me, and you'll have access to essentially all the things so that we can go deep. We have the mentorship, we have the coaching, we have that a little bit of one-on-one support as well, so that we can really spend the time that we need to. And of course, you got the step-by-step training, all those things to truly help you step into unstoppable finances. Now, it's not released to the public yet at all, but I've offered a couple people a pre-sale price. So it's a discounted price. If you were like, I have wanted to work with you, I just haven't felt like this is the right container, the right space, the price point, one of those things are off, this might be the perfect option for you. Send me a message on Instagram, because I don't even have any links ready. This is all very, we're still working on getting it ready. So send me a message on Instagram that you want more info about the Unstoppable experience, and we'll talk about if this is the right fit for you. And if not, if it's not your time yet, then it's not your time yet. And we'll have that conversation as well. All right. That's it for now. We're going to get into the second half of this conversation next week. So I'll see you then. If you're struggling with shame and guilt around your finances, whether it's debt, impulse spending, mistakes from the past, or the fact that you still haven't hit your income goal, then it's time for you to work with me. There are different levels of support and price points that you can use on the path to removing that guilt and shame so you can step into your unstoppable life. After all, your finances are unique to you, and your support should be too. Go to workwithamy.com to get started with one of my most popular programs, or you can book a Q&A call with me and we'll figure out what that next step should be. And those links are hanging out in the description of this video as well.